Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously fascinating philosophical third way to deal with bullies and oppression. We're moving way beyond those tired binary choices of either passive surrender or violent retaliation. It's a total game changer, so let's just dive right into it. So, it all starts with this incredibly profound, kinda unexpected question. How do souls get revenge on people who bully them? This actually comes from Evan, a thoughtful 20-year-old who's just sitting in his living room watching a rainstorm, jotting down these deep metaphysical scribbles in his notebook. And it's a striking thought, right? I mean, it completely reframes the whole idea of getting back at someone. It shifts it from this gritty, physical, worldly act into something deeply spiritual.
Section 1. The Good Guy's Dilemma, Between War and Surrender. Here, we're going to look at Evan's deep frustration with the traditional options that society, and really history in general, have typically handed down to so-called good people.
Because Evan realizes that historically our choices usually fall into two deeply flawed extremes. You've got passive surrender on one side and violent vengeance on the other. On the one hand, there's this expectation to just be a saintly punching bag for villains, silently taking the abuse to somehow earn your way into heaven. But then on the other hand, there's destructive all-out war. Looking at history, Evan sees either wars that literally burn down millions or saints who just stand there and take the torture. And honestly, both of these options just feel inherently wrong to him.
And he points out a massive logical flaw in that whole passive surrender model. He says, if all the good guys die peacefully, there's nobody left down here to be an actual example. Just think about that for a second. If good souls just take the abuse, what actually happens? Well, we're left with a world entirely run by villains, and our only examples of goodness are buried in graveyards full of martyrs. It practically makes the bullies feel like they're helping the divine plan by beating people down. Crazy, right?
To really ground this idea, Evan's dad agrees and brings up what we can call the playground problem. It's a painful reality we've all probably seen. If you don't confront the playground bully, the bullying simply continues. But if the smaller kid finally stands up to fight back, they're usually the ones who get completely pummeled, all while the bystanders just stand around filming it on their phones or running away. It's the perfect micro-level example of why these binary choices completely fail us.
Moving on to Section 2. The Trap of Loud Crowds, Weak Souls and Messy Group Rebellion. This takes us straight from the micro level of that playground to the macro level of society as a whole. So, watching the evening news with his dad, Evan observes these massive crowds opting for a really destructive kind of vengeance, but they mask it as standing up. The crowds are making some pretty chaotic demands. Things like complete open borders, advocating for the legalization of drugs and crime with this bizarre logic of teaching criminals to be nice, and pushing to shut down any reality that offends them. As Evan and his dad watch this unrest, they note how it targets all the wrong things. People are just breaking whatever's in reach, rather than addressing the actual root of the oppression.
And looking at all this chaos, Evan makes this brilliant, super objective observation. He says a bunch of weak, confused rebels can still create group power. Doesn't mean it's clean power. He realizes that this messy, destructive group rebellion might generate a temporary force, sure, but it absolutely isn't a healthy, lasting, or constructive solution. It's really just a different, louder flavor of that violent vengeance trap we just talked about.
And that brings us to the need for a totally different approach, what Evan calls clean power. Clean power is essentially the strength the soul develops by protecting itself and standing up to harm, but it's fueled entirely by inner spiritual growth rather than destructive group chaos. Imagine having the power to walk into a room and naturally push back the darkness without having to, smash a storefront to do it. That's clean power.
In the source material's metaphysical worldview, you can actually visualize this difference in people's auras. Think of solid gold auras. That represents a strong, steady inner light radiating from trained souls. Contrast that with jagged red auras. Those are dull gray fields shot through with anger, full of holes, basically representing weakened, highly reactive individuals. The ultimate goal of clean power? It's to build that solid, unflickering gold.
Okay, so how do we actually build that solid gold aura? That brings us to Section 3, the soul's true mission, finding purpose beyond the distractions.
Later in the story, we find ourselves at this beautifully sunny, vibrant beach. But Evan notices something kind of troubling amidst all the relaxation. He points out what he calls the beach distraction. He notes that negative forces, which he calls Tempters, absolutely thrive in environments where everyone is hypnotized. People are just staring at screens, chasing mindless fun, trying to get the perfect tan, and entirely avoiding any intentional spiritual growth.
They're spiritually asleep, basically trading their soul's evolution for a good selfie and a fleeting moment of comfort.
The crucial point really clicks when he looks at 3 different fishermen lined up on the pier. Evan realizes that your physical actions don't actually matter nearly as much as your internal state. You could have 3 people performing the exact same physical action, fishing on the pier, but with entirely different soul states. One is grateful, one is bitter, and one is just totally numb. It's the exact same physical motion, but the soul homework, so to speak, is completely different. It's what's happening on the inside that truly counts.
And his dad actually sums this up perfectly, saying you can't control storms or other people, but you can choose to hook into your conscience. In a world that's literally full of riots, bullies, and endless digital distractions, true power comes from hooking into your own conscience. It's about refusing to let those external storms, or the Tempters, dictate your inner peace and your soul's overall trajectory.
All of this leads Evan to his ultimate, incredibly empowering realization in Section 4, Evolution as True Revenge, the third way.
Evan realizes that true revenge actually has nothing to do with making the bullies physically hurt. No, true revenge is refusing to let the bullies script your soul with shame, fear, cruelty, or numbness. Because, think about the logic here. If a bully makes you cruel in response to their cruelty, well, they win twice. If they make you numb and hopeless, they win again. The absolute only true revenge is completely refusing to accept that narrative of powerlessness they try to force onto you.
So, this incredible third way breaks down into 3 highly practical, actionable steps for your own life. Number 1, refuse to be scripted by fear or shame. Number 2, hook into your conscience to get your internal orders. And number 3, quietly train your inner light. You keep doing this until your inner presence is so strong, so solid gold, that the bully's tactics completely fail and just bounce right off of you. This single thought synthesizes the entire concept perfectly. That's not surrender, that's not war, that's evolution. It's incredibly empowering, isn't it? It breaks us right out of that trap we started with. It's neither passive, weak surrender, nor is it destructive, chaotic war. It is pure individual soul evolution that inherently and permanently diminishes a bully's power over you. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, provocative thought for your own soul homework today. If a bully can't punch your soul, are you gonna let them script it? Think about the clean power you can start cultivating right now. Thank you so much for joining me as we mapped out this fascinating third way. Stay grounded, and remember to keep training that inner light.